everyone, and welcome to the 47th issue of the Londonderry View. We are very honored and excited tonight because we have Kathy Wagner with us.
Thank
and
you.
We're here to talk about Old Home Days. And just on a side note, Kathy has been in charge, the director, the person for Old Home Day for 20 years. So talk about volunteering. Wow. And in my story this week, I actually wrote and described you as Kathy Wagner, the heart of Old Home Day in Londonderry. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for coming. And yes, and you've done a wonderful job.
Thanks.
I do not know of anyone else truly that could do what you do and continue to do it for 20 years.
Yeah, it's a piece of work.
And do it so good.
So well.
Yeah.
Superb.
It is really intense, probably the month of July 15th to the event, where Steve, my better half, jokingly picks up the phone, Old Home Day, because 90% of the phone calls at home are Old Home Day related, like, am I in the parade? Do I have a booth? You know, it's just crazy. It gets really crazy that last month. I have no time other than it's probably, if somebody compared it to a job, it's probably those last 2 weeks before the event, 80 hours each week of dealing with it. I mean, I have people that are calling me at 7 o'clock on Sunday mornings trying to find out what's going on. Can they get a booth, even though the website or the booths are sold out and stuff. So it is a tremendous amount of work. It's not something people
do during the week.
Right, or it's not something if you were just to be thrown into it, something you can take on lightly. It is dedicated. It's a lot of work.
And when you see those
organized,
organized.
And the great thing about it is, because of the fact I've been doing it for 20 years, I've kind of talked to Kevin, who's the town manager. Everybody knows that, Kevin Smith, and explained to him that it really has surpassed a volunteer position. It really needs more guidance than just one person volunteering, or even the whole cast of characters, because of all the dynamics that go with it. And so what it is it's 5 days, senior night, which thankfully belongs where it belongs. Right, you did it excellent. It was so nice because I'm not taking anything away from the past people that did it, because they did it with their heart, but it was just nice to see new blood and a mix-up on it. I thought you did a fabulous job. The flowers, the difference in the food menu, just the whole atmosphere. It was just much nicer.
She did a fantastic job.
Everything she did, just the little touches, like the tablecloths, the seat covers. We expended a little bit more money than we normally in our budget, but like what, $150 over the $1,500
for how many people that were served?
But we went.
We'll discuss that later.
We kind of did some things that we purchased this year that would be carried over for years and years. So we spent a little bit more money this way on getting the seat cushions and all of that. But that packed away, and they will be
packed away that will be reused.
So I think we went over budget because we made a decision as the committee that this was the right way to go and to expend.
And to look to the future.
Right, for the future.
Definitely, because it really was.
Oh,
it was
excellent.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I did get a lot of people stopping by my office saying, wow, we had such a great time. It was so nice.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact that you had tablecloths, it was decorated. They like the little touches. And I enjoyed doing that. So.
And you brought in our police department, which
I brought the police department in
and they
to help
seemed
out.
to enjoy themselves.
They did.
That was so great.
Yeah, it just was a really nice, nice evening.
And the weather held. It was perfect.
Yeah,
you know, we lucked out.
The only thing is, though, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do? Because they start showing up at 4 and. I mean, and I have to say, this was one of the largest crowds I saw.
Some members from the Lions group told me that. They said this is the largest group we've had here, so.
But it was funny, people were going up for seconds before people come.
I know
first,
it.
yeah.
I know it.
So how do you keep them?
Well,
Yeah.
I've got ideas for next year. I've got things written down. I've got notes all in that big binder that you gave me.
Yeah. So, so that was the first step. And so Kathy took it on as a town employee.
Right.
And I think it is her venue because she is the
That's
senior
right.
coordinator.
That's right.
So it should go with somebody like, you know, that is connected to the seniors because we were just volunteers and we were just saying, oh, get your ticket.
Yeah.
You know, call here, get a
Yes,
ticket.
on
This way,
top of it.
there's a
Involvement.
concise
Yeah.
place where everybody goes anyways.
Right.
And
Yep.
everybody can get a ticket. So it was just a really good fit. And then Concerts on the Common,
those-
Stephen
that
and
did,
Julie,
Julie
oh my
came up to
gosh.
us, which I was kind of disappointed that we lost them, but we did okay with the Beach Boys. We were supposed to have Foreigner's Journey for
right,
for
that's right.
Old Home Day, which I'd like to see if we could coordinate that for next year,
year,
have them do
yes.
that. And what we decided to do was we would take funding out of Old Home Day and put it into the Concert on the Common budget for just that particular show to assist because we felt that you really needed a high-end band because, you know, it's Old Home Day and stuff.
Right.
And I was laughing because, I mean, technically, I don't think I'm a senior yet, but I am over 55.
You're
Yeah,
the
let's
senior.
see. Yeah, let's
So
see.
So I'm sitting here going, you know what? Why should we have a boring concert? Let's
You know what?
let's get some of the rock band, you know,
And to get
I
tribute
thought it was-
bands that are our music. I thought the Beach Boys
They
was
were
awesome.
fantastic.
They were
Oh, what did they call it? All
fantastic.
summer long, I think there was their
Yeah,
name.
and some of our
Yeah,
seniors that
and
went
they
said
were-
they had a great time.
It was
And
fantastic.
and the
there
concert
more
was packed.
people.
Oh, it was
Yes.
packed.
And so, and I think because of the fact that we changed that up, and and I love the Wyndham Swing Band, and they are part of the concert series,
Right.
but just
Just
mixing it up
mixing it up.
every year
It brought
is going to
the
be a great
families.
thing.
It
did.
brought
It
the
did. You're right.
families.
Yeah.
There was a lot of families
good point.
sitting
And I
there.
also
That's
got
right.
the feeling too by us changing it was people didn't believe it was just a senior night
know what?
concert.
You're
Right.
It
That's
became
true.
where Concerts on the Common were going. Everybody in
That's
town
right.
said we're welcome to
Yes.
come. Whereas
Yes.
people were kind of like this was always a senior
Very
night.
much so.
Yeah.
So I think
Absolutely.
great idea, for
idea,
the
yeah.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Thursday night is our kids' night.
Yeah.
Dan Lekas is our chairman there. But we're looking, Dan's not sure, he said he would continue to do it. And it's from 5 to 8:30. And or 8, I think, because,
think 8, you're right.
because, and it's great for the kids. We always have the wildlife, the bounce houses, the
Yeah,
train,
nice.
you know, all of that
The
stuff.
tortoise walking
But-
around, that
right,
tortoise.
the
all
big
around.
tortoise
Oh
and
my
all the
gosh.
little kids, and
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah. Oh,
people said it was
incredible.
a higher percentage of people
Yeah.
showed up for this.
Absolutely.
And the goal of that was always to keep it as cheap as possible. So parents in Londonderry could afford to take a family of 3 kids
Yeah.
and not have to spend $50.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that's why everything has always remained, I think it's like $1 for a bounce or
Yeah.
$3 for 5,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
$2 to ride the train, and then the Lions provide the food really cheap, and so it's all catered to making sure that, you know, it's a fun night out. And the beautiful thing in all of it too is a lot of the PTAs are participating now, so they're there to give information to the new students going to
Oh, on
each
top of it,
school.
that's right.
Oh, that's
Which is
nice.
So,
welcoming, too, to the
right,
new
so it's
families.
very positive
Yeah,
night.
that's a good
And
thing.
then the Londonderry Police, God bless their soul, because they really rocked it this year. I
Oh
gotta
my
tell you, they were
gosh.
awesome. I picked up movie night, and they've been doing movie nights.
Yeah.
So the kids go over to the police station and they have a good
That's,
time.
that's,
They have a
yeah.
good time.
Yeah.
So Thursday night is pretty well, you know, town related
right.
and covered. Friday, Old Home Day volunteers really have nothing to do with
Right.
Friday night at all because the softball's done by Police and Fire,
Right.
the concert's done by Friends of Music, and the fireworks are done by the police. I mean, the fire.
Fire department.
Fire department.
Yeah.
So Friday night, the volunteers really have a night off before Saturday morning, and the clock ticks, and the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock, and we're off to the races. But
We're
I don't want to
off.
keep talking. What
Oh,
do you
no,
know?
it's
No,
Go
it's,
ahead.
I mean,
giving everyone the information as to how behind the scenes, how it's organized.
Yeah.
So how did you take this on 20 years ago?
Okay, so the chamber in 1998 dissolved,
Right. Okay.
the Londonderry Chamber, and became part of the Manchester Chamber. So they dissolved, and they used to run Old Home Day.
Oh, interesting. I always wondered about
So
this.
a very, very eclectic, I don't even know if that's the word, but a lot of the new people in town aren't going to understand this, but the dynamics of the people that came to that first meeting was very unusual.
My
Um,
goodness.
Ken Hampshire, Mark Oswald, the Veranis,
My gosh.
Junie Vickers. I don't know if anybody would remember Junie. She was here a long time ago. Was a very diverse, and at that time there was a lot of, I wish I would say, town politics going on.
was there
Oh
even?
yeah, because
Oh.
everybody didn't necessarily
See eye
Get
to
along.
eye.
see eye to eye because we were all growing then. And
Right,
it was
that's true,
crazy, and the
too.
Verani, Giovanni, the father, and it was
Oh
just,
my
it was
gosh,
just,
what a different
so it was like,
time.
everybody was sitting there going, okay, are we gonna be able to do
Oh
this?
my
And we were all like, yes. So how I got involved was, they said, well, we need a banner across the road when we could have the banner
I
across
remember
the.
that banner across
And
the road.
Steve and I said, well, let's volunteer to donate the banner. So we donated the banner, and then we kind of got sucked in. And we were with it for the first in 1999,
Was
which
that the first Old Home Day?
that was done by the volunteers.
Yeah.
All we had that year was Saturday and Friday. The Air Force Band would come up for free from Hanscom Field, and they'd play Friday night, and that was it. That was all we did.
99.
Right. And then on Saturday, we had the parade, and that was my first place where I got stuck, so to speak. Mark Oswald was in charge. He was the parade, him and Joe, his wife, and I was like a subordinate underneath
Oh,
Mark
my goodness.
because Mark was so active with Friends of Music.
Right.
They kind of had
And
a
the
feel,
council,
right?
right? He was on the
right,
council
yeah.
at
I
that
think he
point?
was
I think
too,
he was, yeah.
and had a feel for what it took to put a parade on, like
Oh,
because
Yeah.
none of us had a
right,
clue.
right.
So he was like, "Okay, we'll work this out." So we did the parade, and a lot of the same stuff we do on the parade is from that original time frame. I mean, before we used to do like everybody would run down there and we'd have big pieces of chalk and they'd write their number on the pavement and
Oh
and
my
stuff like in the middle school parking lot in the front had all those islands with those dead trees. So it was crazy. It was a lot.
Oh
it was a
my
lot
gosh.
more logistical. You couldn't get around the back because the back
Yeah.
was closed off. So they opened the back up where the buses go in, and I mean, in 20 years, Londonderry's
that's-
changed
Oh, it
a
has.
lot.
Wow.
So we had a flyover with the warthogs, and it was raining. It was so cloudy, you couldn't even see them.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not
This
kidding.
is the
You
first
could
one.
hear them
first one
probably, but
So,
I wish we had pictures.
oh, when we were down at the setup area, we didn't get to see it. But I guess the sun broke right when the woman who was singing, I can't remember who sang the national anthem that year, and these warhogs came flying out of clouds, and all these people were like, you know, like, freaked out because
Londonderry.
they were, you know, there was I think 3 or 5 of them. I
Oh
can't
my
remember. So
gosh.
they came and did a flyover for our
From
first one.
Grenier Field, I guess, right? Where they from?
No, they
or-
would have been Nashua was where they used to be
Nashua, from
based.
the-
Was where they were based.
Wow.
And I always wonder if Kelly Ayotte's husband, because he was flying them then, was one of the people that,
Oh, that's
but she
funny.
wasn't senator yet, you know, former senator. But yeah, her husband had been over there flying them, so we, yeah, it's a small world. And when you start, you know,
And the
talking
names
about
and,
people.
You know, and that's what happens as time passes. Like I never think of these people being involved that you're naming.
Yeah.
Because we kind of know where we are, you know, or where we started with it. Oh Oh my gosh.
Do you have
Kathy.
any pictures?
Of the first
first
one?
Of the first
I'm
one?
sure we have them someplace, but
Because-
they're not.
Yeah.
I'm
'cause
sure
it
we
would
could
be
find
nice
them.
to put up on the board,
Oh.
you know.
Yeah, I'm sure we could.
really
I'm
would.
sure somebody has them
Yeah.
because
'cause
that
it
was
would
our
be a
first
good
one.
thing.
Incredible.
Yeah. You know, the
Oh,
first
my
one.
That was the
gosh.
first
and how
one
it
when the
is
citizens
now.
of Londonderry
Yeah.
actually took it over. And what the town did was, Dick Plant, I think Dick Plant was our town
Manager at that point.
And he said, okay, we'll do $10,000 to put this on. Okay, so everybody was like, wow, we got $10,000. And it's a lot of money, but the parade this year, $13,000 by the time we were done.
Wow.
Just for the parade. So because the event continues to just grow and grow,
grow, right.
the budget continues to grow and grow with it.
But the parade
And
this
it's a
year
lot
too.
of work.
Oh,
And
It
it's-
is.
it
it's-
is.
You know, I mean, you do a phenomenal job.
You do
So
a
it's
great
like
job
6
with it.
o'clock in the mornings. I load everything in the car. It's so funny. Like Cindy Rice Conley and John were on it with us. I'm
Oh,
trying to
they
come out.
were.
I'm trying to think of all the
Another
people
great
that
woman, our
have
assistant
that have gone
moderator,
through there.
John's done so much for the
Right,
town.
and he's
Cindy
the
was
moderator. He's
moderator.
the treasurer for the school.
Yes, oh,
And
good
so,
people. Endless volunteering.
We used to always say you can't park at the middle school because you couldn't, because that's people don't understand that that's where we're staging the parade. But you get there at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and people aren't supposed to start showing up till 8:30. We're trying to map out where everybody's going,
And they're there.
and they're coming with like floats and stuff, and you're like, what the hell are you doing?
What are we gonna do?
What are you going? Why are you here so early? What am I gonna do? So we're like, just stick them over there until we get it done. So yeah, so everybody's running around like with their
love it.
chickens, like with their heads cut off. It
Yeah.
looks like,
Oh my
but it's just
gosh.
organized chaos down
Yeah.
there. And we tried to do a quick rough draft. The parade itself had 1,500 people in it,
The parade
Wow.
itself.
Wow.
just this year.
Well, it kept going
Because,
on. It was
well,
amazing.
And I hope this is a tradition we can keep. It was wonderful this year because we got Pinkerton to finally come.
Yes,
So we
right.
had the Lancers, Alvin, Bedford, and Pinkerton.
Yeah.
And we'd
That's
like to
nice.
keep those 4 high school bands. And like I said in my the little Chairman Chronicles, the leader of the band who retired has a living legacy because James is a graduate of Londonderry High School and now the director of Pinkerton.
Oh my goodness.
Kelsey is a graduate of Londonderry High School's music program, Andy Susi, and now is the director of Bedford. And of course, Serge.
Right.
So,
Oh, there is a legacy. Oh my gosh.
so and I told Serge, I go, love you guys to death, but you got some competition.
Oh my gosh.
And I think the excitement, it was really funny when I was asking Pinkerton and I was asking Bedford for both of them said, you know how many times I marched this parade 4 years. I told my kids, oh my God, you're going to have so much fun. So I think that was part of the reason why they were so quick to sign up and come
my
on was because
gosh.
they marched it. And then Alvin always had a connection with Londonderry because Jerry, even though he retired and now Robert is the new director, but there's kids from the Londonderry school program that are assistants and stuff over there. Jerry was South School's music teacher and then he left to go take over the Alvin band program. So these 4 high schools have a huge connection in a way to Londonderry
That
and
sounds
Mr. Susi.
Oh, and Mr. Susi, who was at everything
Thank
too. He
Right.
with Kim and
So, right, so,
geez.
yeah, so that I thought was nice, and
And
that's kind of a
Maylee.
nice tradition to keep
Yeah,
going.
it
Yeah.
definitely.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
Well, I have to say my favorite of the parade was the airport's fire truck.
Oh,
And it
yeah,
had that nozzle in the
Oh,
front.
wasn't that something?
I hear that thing is
I've
massive.
never seen one before, and he kept hitting. Was it Salem? Or I don't know.
Just ahead of
The fire truck that was right in front of it.
I don't know, because
He
I
kept
didn't.
blasting it.
I never see the parade.
Oh, gosh.
But the guy just kept blasting the back of their truck as he
Oh,
was
that's
going
funny.
by, and I
Isn't
just thought
that
it was so
was
funny.
funny?
But it was like such a cool looking.
Well, the
piece of
water
equipment,
was
you
just
know?
like coming
Yeah,
out of it too in a
yes.
tunnel. Oh my gosh.
So I never get to see that.
Well,
part.
this year they should, for 2020, they should have you up with the counselors and Kevin, and so that you can actually
Well, I
watch
actually
and
used to get
enjoy.
to see the parade when I was a town councilor, because I had to
That's
put the
right,
town,
too.
I had to do the parade, and then I had to march it.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and keep Old Home Day running too when I was the town councilor. So those 3 years were crazy, but crazy busy at Old
What
Home Day.
year was you a town councilor?
Oh my God, how long, when was John's first year?
God, was he 2010?
Then that would have been my last, so I would have been 7 through 10.
I think that's right. It was. Has he been on that long?
Yeah, he's on his
Oh
third
my
term.
goodness. Wow.
So when his first year was my last year, because he took one of my spots,
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Kathy, that's right.
because I didn't run
He was
again.
planning board before that. Think
Right,
of all
because
the
I was on the
volunteering.
planning board with John.
That's right. That's where you. That's right too.
That's kind of where we met each other.
Yeah.
Was I was council liaison to the planning board, and
That's
John used to
right.
sit with me.
That's right.
See?
So
And he was kind of new to everything then, trying to figure it out, and coming from New Jersey, upstate New York. So interesting. Wow.
well, it's pretty funny though. When De Blasio marched, he came up and Tammy Seekman was there, and I gave her a hug, and she's like, "Don't hug me, I got poison ivy." I go, "Don't worry, I'm getting poison ivy too." And he's like looking like, okay, well, this must be the real Hicks of the sticks, they're comparing their poison ivy. And I looked at him, I said, "You can't take the Bronx out of the girl."
Oh.
And it's kind of funny, but Steve's from New York, left New York.
right,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm from New York, we left New York.
I did not know that you were
Right.
too.
So there's a lot of
Oh my
transplants from New
gosh,
York
they're-
here in Londonderry.
That is it. Yeah, I didn't realize.
So we have
that.
kind of like the New York attitude in
Yeah.
that kind of area.
Get the job done.
Done,
and
get the
that's
job done
right,
and don't
yep.
take
No,
anything from
no,
anybody, so-
Because otherwise the job won't get
It
done.
does, right.
You've got oh, that's yeah. My gosh, and then here we are 20 years later. So it was just Saturday then, the parade.
It was the baby contest was
Oh
always there, and the women's club ran the baby
Oh,
contest
they
20
did.
years
All
ago.
right, wow.
That was their
And
fundraiser.
then they just stopped?
And then they said they didn't want to do it anymore, and they stopped. And we found out they were stopping, and people went nuts
Oh my
because
gosh.
They wanted
that
it.
they wanted that baby
Yeah.
contest.
Yeah.
So Old Home Day picked the baby contest up, and we've had it. And I'll tell you, that is one thing you can't ever get rid of. Is that little thing is
Yeah.
like
And
brought
it's
on
hard.
a
Big,
Oh.
that's
It's
brought
so
on a
hard.
life of its own, and
Oh
it's
my
so cute.
God.
yeah.
It is
that
so
a
cute.
good
But it's
thing.
so hard. The 1 year I judged, it's so hard because 40 babies you might have, and every baby
Yeah.
is precious,
Adorable.
adorable.
Yeah.
And
But
they
ma-
bring them in those
Oh,
outfits.
the-
and
oh,
they're
Yeah,
so
they are.
Oh,
They're-
and
oh
some
my
How do you
God.
choose?
Oh, and
Yeah.
then the
You
one,
know?
and then some of them will get up there and they're full of like energy, and then others kind of freeze, and the parents are so, because it's like smiled, it's just like, oh my
I know,
gosh.
and I'm thankful I've never had
Yeah,
to judge.
oh, it
Because
was,
how do
yeah.
you pick one?
Yeah, it's
just-
very hard.
That's
Because they're
very
so
hard.
cute at that
Oh,
point.
Yeah,
they
at that age,
are.
oh
and the
my
parents are like
God.
close behind you, and the family and the friends. You're like, oh my gosh. To
Yeah,
me, like
it
they're
does.
all tens,
Yeah.
but it's a tough one.
So
Yeah.
that's been around for,
Oh, since the beginning.
and I think it's been around even longer than that because the women's club did it
did it before.
before.
As a
So when,
fundraiser.
right, so
Yeah.
as a
Wow.
fundraiser. So I think the baby contest has got to be
Yeah.
over 30 years old.
Wow.
My goodness,
That is
that
something.
is something. Wow.
Yeah.
And it's a little master and a little,
Little miss,
Yeah,
yeah.
which
And
is
then,
adorable.
I think best dress for the
Yes,
boy and the
oh,
girl
that's
too.
right. Best smile,
And I think their best
maybe.
smile
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
personality
Yeah,
or something like that.
personality and
So.
yeah.
But I used to go, scary, 37, oh, it's older than that. Because
I can't get over that.
the kids, my kids, we talked about putting one of them in it, and Steve was like, we're not putting any. So it's got to be over 35 years old.
That's
30.
amazing.
It's got to be
gosh.
going
When you
back that
think of
long
it.
now when you think.
That's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
Jeez.
It's old. It's an
And that was one of the
old
first
tradition.
Wow, that
So it has to be something you enjoyed very much to do
Lot
it
of
for
good
20
memories.
years.
Well, I do enjoy it. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say I did. I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love the people.
Yeah.
I couldn't put this on if I hadn't had all the great volunteers through the whole thing. And we seem to find really good people to move in when we're in real,
Right, to step in.
to step in and take over. The one area that people kind of hesitate in is the parade because it is such a big,
So large,
Yeah.
yeah.
a big
That's-
undertaking.
yeah.
That was the tough one. And as many people know, there was some, I shouldn't say, just questions about how Old Home Day works and how it runs. And through the whole exercise of coming up with the information, we found an old resolution that was done in 2001. And it basically stated that it's a group of willing volunteers who have all
My
the say over
goodness.
the event, but it should be run by an employee.
It says that in the
Yes.
resolution.
And it was specifically Troy Brown's position at the time, and I can't, community service director or
My
something like that was his
goodness.
title, I can't remember it exactly. And so he was supposed to be like the chairman,
Okay.
overseeing all of that.
All
So,
of the-
right, so when we found that again, part of the fact that after 20 years, I'm looking to kind of downsize. I don't want to walk away, I enjoy
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And I think, and I feel that because I've been doing it so long, I have an expertise in it, so
Yeah.
it
To
would be
instruct
very-
the
know the ropes.
Right,
Right.
I
To
want
share
to,
your
I want to
knowledge.
share and mentor somebody with the
Right.
parade and
Oh,
mentor somebody
nice.
with
See, that's
Saturday on the
wonderful.
booth
Yeah, it really
and all that
is,
stuff.
yeah.
So I'm not going anywheres, but I just don't want to be in charge anymore.
Right.
And it's
Oh,
a good
that's
idea to
beautiful,
have
though.
a
That
What
chairman
about if
and
you-
help you
Yeah.
out and
Yeah.
do things to get it organized for you without
Yeah.
having to worry about every department.
What about having co-chairs?
Well, that's what we always tried to do. Like, I was always, my philosophy was if you signed up to do senior night,
It's your baby.
it's your baby.
That's
I'm
what
not
you
going
told me.
to right. I'm not going to micromanage
That's
you.
what she said.
I don't have time for
Right.
that because I have to do it with the bigger.
Right,
But I
right.
said if you've got the issues and you need somebody to step in and deal with them, then I'm there. Because that's what the chairman's
that's
supposed to
right,
do
right.
at that point. And so that's the way I am with everybody who was on the committee. Was every event has its own chair to the event that kind of reports
Right.
to the whole
To you.
committee and to me. And then if they have issues where they need more money and stuff, we kind of discuss it and talk it out. And then, it's really rule by committee. It's not rule by one person, but it's just that you need that one point of
Somebody,
contact.
yes.
Yeah, at the. So that's what. Because we found that resolution.
Oh, my
from-
gosh.
We're going to. Kevin said he was going to reconsider having somebody from the town
From the town.
step in and take over that part of it.
See, that's good.
And then with
Yeah.
your guidance and wisdom
Them.
and
then
by
we'll
their
find
side.
more
Yeah.
people to volunteer, and
Right.
I'll mentor them through till they're comfortable till the next, and then hopefully. But if
Eventually.
I'm not doing the bulk of it,
Right.
I can handle.
And
it.
if you know
Right.
you have a full support
Right,
group
right,
too.
right.
That's
And the
whole-
backing of the town is
Right,
huge
right.
too.
You know, because, I mean, it's like anything else, when you do all that volunteering, it's tiring.
Yes.
And it becomes not enjoyable anymore.
Right. And the way it worked was because, and we've always done it this way, since 2001, think about that, so it's almost 18 years. It was set up that all of the funds and everything had to go through the town because at that time, the auditors said they were worried about charitable organizations because they were having a lot of issues in the state of New Hampshire where they would set up these charities and then you'd find out the treasurer took some of the money for themselves and they had to stop them
right.
and
Yeah.
stuff. But,
Yeah.
right. So this way we always knew everything that
No
was going
questions.
on.
Yeah, everything
Right.
just goes
Right,
Clear.
goes right through the finance department
Right.
and,
Yeah.
Through the
and
finance.
and then as the years have gone, it's been fine-tuned even more and more. In the beginning, I never had to come to see any of the clerks, the clerk
Right.
assistants. Just like you're registering a dog or
Right,
a
Yeah.
car
Yeah,
or
or car,
anything
right.
now, I have to come in with a sheet that shows every check, who wrote it, the number, the amount, and give it to them. They have to reconcile that the number matches up with what I'm showing and sign off on it. And I have to sign off on it too. So that's how the town clerk is available. It's just they're keeping track of the
Because
day-to-day
everything filters
through
through.
the town
Yes.
clerk's
Right.
office.
Yeah.
So it's just a standard procedure, just
Right.
like you would.
And overseen by the
else.
finance
Yeah.
department.
Right.
And many checks and balances along the way.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
So that takes the money aspect out of it.
Right.
And as a volunteer, it's a huge relief too. Because
Oh.
I wouldn't want to be responsible for all of that money, because we run about, the event costs about 20 grand on our side
Yeah.
alone. That's not with the fireworks.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want to be running
Responsible
that
for
kind of
that.
money.
Yeah, I understand that because I know through LSCI at the center.
Right, the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit, and we have to account for every penny we spend. And thank God I have a great treasurer that does that, because I wouldn't, you know. And I'm like, no,
Wow,
you do
boy.
that. And it's a big responsibility because we went to the accountant last week, and
For the auditing. right?
yeah, I mean, you have to do it every year, and
Right.
you know, every penny has to be
accounted
accounted for.
Right.
And we have the checks and the receipts, because people will start saying, "Where's that money going?"
that's right.
You know, and it works out fine that way. But it is difficult.
Right, and so that is the new direction we're going, and I'm kind of excited about it.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Very
that's a
much
good
so,
thing.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of the pressure off of you.
Yeah.
And yet you can still do it and enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Still do
Something
your
you
volunteer
enjoy.
work.
Right.
Right,
That's
still volunteer and
Yeah.
still be involved, but
That's
just not
right.
be
Oh,
totally responsible for
Right.
it.
for every
Yeah.
part of it,
Yeah,
right?
that's good.
Yeah,
I'm
and then the
glad.
phone calls, because
So,
I
right.
know just the phone calls that come into our office that we direct, and it's your house number that
Right.
you always give out, which
Right.
people don't realize that,
Right.
you know. And you're running a business, you know, on top of it, and then you're trying to. It's very difficult because we
It
give your number out freely, you know. Just
But
to
it is a
fun.
labor of love, and it is important to the community that we keep it. And I was very pleased with how it turned out this year. And I don't think we can go back because it was so good.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
it's
it
even
was
the
good. It
weather, it
was
was like it was
excellent.
meant to be.
The
Every
weather
night,
was beautiful.
Every night was perfect. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't, and the Boot Scoot and Boogie.
Yes,
Great
yes,
addition.
that's
Oh
a
my
wonderful
gosh.
addition. And
You
see,
know?
that's what's happening here, which is a good thing.
Yes,
And the funny
yeah.
thing is, I was teasing Kevin Smith because he's friends with John
Mortimer,
Mortimer,
right.
who runs it, and I'm like, God, you old. It's like the kids are
That went to
uh,
Londonderry
their
High
School
School.
are now moving in to take over the
Yes,
events,
for their
and I like that.
Yeah.
It is.
I like that a lot.
That's
it really
that's a great
is.
thing.
Because who loves the community
More
more,
than-
really?
right,
you
right.
know?
And who
So
grew
Yeah,
up
that's
in
been
it.
that we're
wonderful that a
here
lot
and-
of the
Ah.
kids from, you know, that
That-
they
yeah,
have
from the
grown
back
up
in the
with
80s and the
stuff.
90s.
Right,
and-
Yeah.
And
see,
now they
that's
have
a-
young
that's a great
families.
thing.
Oh my gosh, to see them.
That's a
And
great thing.
as much as people, like many of us, missed the morning run because it was tradition,
Tradition.
the water station, you know, at the different. I mean, you just had, but but change is hard for all of
Yeah.
us. But then going to that and experiencing it, and the Kings. I mean, they rallied the families in the Kings. There were people out with cowboy hats on playing cowboy music for us that were running it. And you know, if you needed water, it was music, but it was so. And then afterwards, the big bonfire. There were families from little ones to elderly people, the whole night up until 10 o'clock. And then 3 bands, country bands. I don't know how John was able to do what he did, you know,
Pulling it
for
together.
us.
Think about this. From what my understanding is, John's event had 2,500 runners,
Yes.
and he hired 150 people. Old Home Day probably had 10,000, and there was 5 of us
There you go.
this year. 5 of
Wow.
us.
Yeah.
What a great analogy when you think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because John and I went earlier in the day just to kind of see how it was all going to look, and there were people, workers all over, and John included, putting up where the finish line was. And but you bring up a good point. Like what we have to be so careful of is making sure we encourage people that are willing to volunteer. Because
Yeah.
5 people
Right.
pulled off what we all loved and experienced, and unfortunately, the volunteerism is just keeps going down and down and down.
But
and
it's hard to ask people to volunteer when they're going to get criticized for
It
just doing their job.
absolutely
Well, this is
Right.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
You
it's good.
guys, this year,
Instead of
the
saying thank you.
criticism
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not
Because-
just us, but it's all the boards
yeah.
and commissions.
Yeah. It
Yes,
really
the
is,
whole
yeah.
town.
I don't
everything
understand
you
it,
do.
you know,
It's
even-
crazy. I
I-
don't understand. No, I
I was
don't
going to
understand.
say, I gave my
that.
husband the newspaper to read the article, and it's like, this sounds like there's a vendetta going on here.
Vendetta's
And
a
that's
good
what
word.
it is.
You've
And it
got people
definitely
volunteering
is.
their time to
Right.
make this a great event for the entire
Right.
town, young to old.
And all the
like,
happiness it brought.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
so I don't understand where that negativity, I mean, I don't live in Londonderry, so I don't know why there was had to be
Well, I
negativity.
always think there's
I
that
don't-
1%
There's
or
always
5%.
There's
there
always somebody going to
always-
complain they're never happy.
There is. There's always, and
And
this
trying to harm
happens to
the
be
good-
someone that can voice it
Yeah.
where
mean-
she wants to voice it, and that's not right. You know, for something to be voiced that way. You
Well,
know,
I just don't think it bodes well for someone that just moves to the community and says, I'm going to take a chance on the planning board.
Right.
Sure.
Which
Yes.
is much more difficult and
Yeah.
much more scrutiny than Old Home Day committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to say, man, if this little volunteer committee that puts this little party
Yes.
together is getting crucified, I'm not going to go
Yes.
near
Oh.
anything in the
Well,
community.
this
Right.
is what the
Yeah.
whole thing is. Who wants to get involved
Right.
in it
Yeah.
and have to take the backlash when you're volunteering to do all these things?
Yeah.
And
you
it
know,
does
yeah,
make
you're
a
right.
There should
difference.
be no
And people
backlash.
don't understand
Yeah,
with the
nothing.
right to know request. It's wonderful, and we should all have the right to ask for to see. But people have no idea, especially with volunteers, the time and effort. If
Yeah, I
anyone's
know.
going to put forth a right to know, please watch the steps and become part of
Yeah.
the process before
Right.
you do, or if you do, because I think they just put them in thinking, okay, I put that in. But hours,
The
you
time, I
probably
bet put in hours.
I bet you put close to 20, 25
yeah, there
hours.
was probably 10 to 15 hours
Okay.
getting notes
Hours,
and
just
all the
gathering, go- yeah.
financials
I
and
go
meeting
through that,
and going
And
through
you,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I
you
mean,
know,
with LSCI,
it's different
the
when they
same
come into
thing.
my
Hours
office
and
because
hours.
oh,
She'll
people,
tell you,
people
I
have
spend
no
hours
idea.
and hours of
Right. You know, it's such-
volunteering.
yeah.
And the special part about Londonderry
right.
is this whole community, everything you guys came and moved here for, all of the softball leagues, all of the basketball leagues, all of the lacrosse, all of the rec, all of the soccer,
schools, yeah.
90% of a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
that went on in the schools was all done by volunteers.
Right.
And
Oh.
guess what? All of us are getting too old, and we
Mr.
don't
Lincoln,
get-
I
right,
mean,
right.
oh,
We're
so
getting
many
too
good
old.
ones,
We're
yeah.
not. So it's up to the
Right.
new
The young
people
blood.
moving
Right.
into town to come in
Right.
with their
Yes.
ideas
Yeah.
and make the change
That
because
is.
it gets stale.
Yes.
You know,
it
and
definitely gets
and
stale.
everybody gets set in their ways
Oh,
because it's just
yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
So my wish is that everybody just reboots and says, you know what? I love Londonderry and I'm going to get involved and keep all the
my
traditions
goodness,
going
right.
on and I'm going to volunteer.
Yeah, for our children
and I'm
and
gonna
grandchildren
right.
and-
And it's
And
very
I think
important.
you will do that. I think that's going to happen. You're going to get these kids that are coming out of school that are still living in the town and moving into the town,
Right,
you know,
staying
after coming back from school, and they're going to want to be involved. And myself reading articles that are like,
Negative?
yeah, that are negative makes you madder and you want to help more because you see how some people can feel about telling you these kind of things through a paper that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's, you think, you look at it and you say, wow, this person and Sherry even and John and you, how can you knock these people? They're doing things for your town. This is crazy. But
sad.
I think people know. And people I've talked to about that article that was put into the paper are disgusted with the
Yeah.
paper for doing that.
It
and
makes it
it's
not-
gonna,
The credibility of the newspaper, I
Right.
think, is
And I think it's gone down.
Yeah.
I always read it. And now I pick it up just to see what, but I don't go through everything like I used to because I don't want to hear it. And the people in the town, they're not
Looking for the
gonna
positive, the
Right,
good.
They're looking
right.
for
Yeah.
positive,
Well,
not the negative.
Right.
The sad thing in all of this was a little bit of history, since I'm an old timer. When the paper started, all we had in town was the Dairy News.
Yes, that's right.
And
Yeah.
Dan Griffin was the editor of the Dairy News at that time. And the power plant was coming in, remember, AES, and all of this stuff was going on. And the Dairy News was only giving one side
Covering it.
Yeah.
of the issue. So some people in town were getting frustrated. So they encouraged another voice in the town. And when that voice started, it was one of the most positive.
I would agree with you 100%.
It was wonderful.
The pictures, the positive,
Yeah.
the happy, the good.
It was all
it
about
was
that.
never to harm or hurt anyone.
No, and now
you-
it's
yeah.
like
You don't
it's
even-
like a rag. It's like
Right, you-
reading the Inquirer
Right.
and reading all those terrible papers
That probably
because-
aren't
That
true,
have
but-
because
untruths in
it's-
them.
Yeah.
The ones, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was pretty
It's-
funny
yeah.
that's why it started was
Right.
because everybody was like sick of
Yeah.
Londonderry getting trashed
Yeah.
and wanted
Something
the
po-
positive.
Yes, the positive and all. And as much as we try to be bold when those things are put out there and all, and yes, we know they're not true, and all of those things. But we're human. I mean, they hurt. The goal when
course
somebody
they
writes
hurt.
something like that is to hurt you and to hurt your family. And it does hurt. We're human.
But then
put
you have
so
to look
much
at the
into it.
source.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do.
And you
you
know
have to
it's
remind
not,
yourself.
Now
that
you know
it's
the
not
source.
true.
Yeah.
So
It's
Yeah,
not
but-
true.
But it's
But I just want people to understand that all of us would be a rallying cry if they volunteer, because that's what we really need.
That's the
I mean,
point,
look
yeah.
at Julie and Steve Lee. They've been doing
Yeah.
concerts
Oh
on the
my God,
Common
if
for
our
how
hat
long?
goes off
Yeah.
to,
And
yeah.
I remember when they first started, and what they get, maybe 10 people.
I do remember that.
And they just
and it was
kept it
mostly
going,
this,
kept
And
it
you know what?
going.
There's not a whole lot of people that, it's still just Julie
It
and
truly
Steve.
is.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah.
Handling it.
So
Yeah,
I'd like to
Randy,
see
yep.
people volunteer to help
help them.
them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
and carry that tradition
Yeah.
on and stuff. I mean,
Right.
that is what made Londonderry was volunteerism.
Yeah, it really, you're right.
And we need that feeling
Yeah,
back.
Right.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
hopefully things do tend to go in a cycle.
They do.
So, we've kind of hit a tough spot with, but maybe now, as you said, Bonnie, like you have hope in what you said, that
Yeah.
people will step up.
I
and-
think they will, and I
Yeah.
think more people, all these young kids I see that are graduating, going on to college, or coming back and living in the town, and love the town.
Yes, yeah.
And I think they'll do more in the town.
And I
Right.
encourage them to start running for the offices.
Oh, you're
And-
right, yeah.
Because I'm set in my ways. I'm old. I don't have kids in the school district anymore, even though we're friends of the school district and
Right.
Steve's still on the board and he cares
Sure,
deeply
deeply,
about the
right.
schools.
Yeah.
He's just, he's just a placeholder till some
Yeah.
people,
Decide
to
to.
Right.
start
Yeah.
running. And anytime kids ask me, he's like, please run.
Yeah.
We could use young
Yeah, young
kids.
blood,
Yeah.
They
new
need
Come
that
on.
new
Yeah,
thoughts.
yeah.
You really
Absolutely.
definitely do.
Yeah.
that
the
I
energy
agree with.
and-
But you need, these young kids
Yeah.
to
Yeah, or the
step
young
up.
parents that
Young-
are out
yeah,
there
yes.
that like
Yeah.
we
So
all
all you
were
young
at one
parents
point,
out
right.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Consider running.
Consider running, consider volunteering.
Volunteering.
I know it's hard with little ones,
Yep.
but here's a funny story, Old Home Day. The twins' birthday is August 19th. Do you know how many birthdays they spent setting up Old Home
Oh
Day?
my goodness.
Hey,
Just once.
Right. Oh,
'cause
I'm
it was
sorry, I'll
always-
make it up to you. Can we go home now? You know?
Or you think you'd be all set and then when the.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
See, perfect example.
So, I mean, but they all kind of got to the fact where they knew, oh, it's Old Home Day weekend, we gotta go. We don't have anything to do this weekend because we're gonna do Old Home Day. So, and it was kind of a family
Yeah.
building.
Yeah,
Right.
because you're all, I
Which
mean,
is
you've all been
great.
involved with
And
it.
made them understand community
Community
service. and
service,
stuff
that's
like
right, and
It is a big
volunteering.
thing.
And even though some of the bigger changes that are happening in town too, like Woodmont, I know change is hard for all of us, but I hope those are the things that are going to keep the young people in town. Where when
town.
I was here, we couldn't wait to go everywhere else, you know,
Right.
after we go, it's like, oh, we're going to go, you know, and of course I'm here, you know,
Yeah.
but now I think a lot of them, like Kevin's a perfect example, you know,
Right.
that, you know, there's so many great,
There's a
that,
lot of
yeah,
young
there
people
really
that are
are,
staying in
that are, you know,
town now.
coming in, because there's more to offer here, more restaurants, more
More-
places
more
Yeah.
of
to get out when you
everything.
need a little
Right,
break from
right.
being,
We just
you know,
need
here.
Keno.
That's another topic.
Yeah, we do have to, we got to
I
get that.
probably
in.
babbled too long.
No, it was so interesting
No, it
from
was
to
very
understand
interesting.
the
Very
history
interesting.
too.
Thank
and
you.
You know, and to end with a positive note, as we always
Yes.
do. You know, we cannot thank you enough. And we started with saying you are the heart of Old Home Day, and you will always
are.
remain the true heart. And we
you.
can tell from what you said tonight, you're going to be there, like nurturing and helping
Helping
everyone
with this.
along.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And please volunteer, because all of us, even though a lot of us have been on there for a very long time, we're willing to give our time again to mentor you so you can take it over.
Right.
Very nice.
And be successful.
I just need to
Very
put a
nice.
plug in as well for all the volunteers that helped me for senior
Oh,
night.
boy.
They didn't fail to, you know, come to me and it's like, what can we do to help you to get set up over at the Lions Hall?
Wow.
Which was
So,
great.
Yeah. So
And there is a lot of people that volunteer year after year and show up and help me with that
Oh, then
parade.
I wish we could go through
and
all the
names and
Yeah.
all the people that volunteer at the.
And you see them year after
and,
year.
I'd probably give a plug to Bob Shalata, who's done the baby contest and
my
the games for
gosh,
20 years. He's
yeah.
been on it with
20
me
years.
And his
for
daughter,
20
it's
years.
like, you know,
So, right, and his
daughters-
kids, all his kids
have
grew
always
up.
been
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
He's always smiling.
So
They're
they
always
grew
there
up
helping.
through the whole thing too.
That's
Bob's probably
amazing.
the constant outside of Reed.
And he's that humble hero too.
Right. And Reed
Yeah,
Clark.
And Reed,
Oh,
God
yeah.
bless.
And Reed's probably done Old Home Day for 100 years.
I'm sure he has.
Even in the rain those years, he'd be out there waiting to sign people
Oh
up
my
to
God,
their
he used to
booths.
scare me. Be sitting under the booth in thunder and lightning,
Oh,
and the
my
lightning
God.
was striking, and he wouldn't move.
No, it's
So-
you know, and a lot of good
This was
people. But
very
yeah,
interesting.
Kathy, the time seemed to go.
Yes,
I'm not even
yeah.
sure how long we went
I'm
tonight.
sorry we
but,
babbled.
But,
It's
but, you know,
okay.
No,
this is
it
what
was
we
great to
want.
hear
Right.
the history of it
Yeah.
since I
Right.
don't live in Londonderry. Atkinson doesn't do Old Home Days. They do a Labor Day car show, and we have Memorial Day parade. But yeah, this
Yeah,
was
so-
Yeah, very interesting. It really was.
Thank you.
But you're
And you've
honorary,
worked very
Londonderry.
And now the
Honor.
facts are out.
There you
Yes,
go, yes.
yes.
Okay.
And we can't thank you enough. And you know, this you make our community shine, and you and Steve. We can't, you know, it takes a village, as we always say. So
Yeah.
we are going to say good night,
Night.
and thank you. We'll see you soon too. We have a lot coming up in the fall and into the winter. Lots of places: Renegade Pub, Sunnycrest Farms, other guests.
Backyard
And
Brewery.
Backyard Brewery.
Right.
So, and if you'd like us to come into your business, if you have a topic that you'd like to share with us, you'll contact us, because we are all about the community and all of the good things. So, good night, and we thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.